above, from the mountains to the prairies, to the oceans, white with foam. God bless America, my home, sweet home. God bless America.
My home, sweet home. Well, this is Rudy Giuliani, and welcome to the Rudy Giuliani Show with a little introduction by that enormously great, wonderful man, Ronan Tynan, singing things he introduced to us, or didn't introduce us to, but reminded us of. So Ronan Tynan, I got to know shortly before 9/11. And Ronan Tynan, although not an American citizen, he's a citizen of Ireland who tragically lost his legs and made a career as one of the greatest Irish tenors ever. He was part of the Irish three tenors. He is also, and I can give you an expert opinion on this, and this is not an amateur opinion, has an excellent tenor voice, operatic tenor voice. If you listen to him sing Italian opera, particularly ranging into the dramatic territory, it's as good a voice as anyone and better than most. And most importantly, on September 11, the man gave up his life to travel around New York and environs, and also into Pennsylvania and Washington, to sing at any funeral he was invited to. And he helped to introduce us to the tradition of the seventh inning singing of God Bless America. It's now done by Kate Smith. It was originally done by Ronan Tynan for George Steinbrenner. And of course, he introduced the beginning of it, which many of us didn't know. Many of us always began, as Kate Smith did in her famous rendition of it, God Bless America, Land That I Love, stand beside her and guide her. It actually begins with a spoken dialogue, almost like an opera aria that has a introduction. And it begins this way with a beautiful poem and also with an explanation of what this song is, which you may miss when you just begin with God Bless America. Here's the way it begins. When the storm clouds gather far across the sea, let us swear allegiance to a land that's free. Let us all be grateful for a land so fair as we raise our voices in a solemn prayer. And then you begin, God bless America, land that I love. Note the last word of the poem, prayer. I don't know if they would emphasize that today, huh? Gives you an idea of one of the millions and millions of things in our history and our lore and our laws and our Constitution and our culture, where the bedrock of all of this is God, prayer, understanding of our place in the universe, that we have a role to play, that we don't dominate it, that when we find that role to play and we play it most cooperatively, we become happy men and women, sometimes even great ones. Ronan, we're going to work very, very hard to bring Ronan on because his separation, although mended somewhat, was unfortunate, a misunderstanding. Not with me. Never took a separation with me. And I will tell you, just to disclose everything, he sang at my wedding, and he is the most generous, nice, sweet man you will ever meet. Too many times with him, when neither one of us could stand watching the three little babies who were never going to have a father because the Islamic extremist terrorists came here and slaughtered us. Too much. Too much, too much, too much. So this is St. Patrick's Day, and there's a great Irishman, and there's a great Irishman who loves America. I never met an Irishman that didn't love America, and I'm not Irish. I grew up an Italian American in an Irish, Italian, Jewish neighborhood. The Jewish kids were smarter than me, and the Irish kids were tougher than me. Except my father taught me how to box. And I was an unusual Italian. I could beat them all up. And one day in the 5th grade, after 2 years in my new school, this young boy came, and his name, I won't tell you his name. I mean, he's probably very old now, and we haven't seen him in years. But even though it was an Irish school, Irish nuns, I was made half Irish just by indoctrination. I rooted for Notre Dame. St. Patrick's Day was the biggest feast of the year. I only learned that Christmas and Easter were more important later. They egged me on to have a fight with him. And we were 5 in the 5th grade, so I don't know how old you are then. And I have been boxing for about 2 or 3 years. And his father was a steam fitter, if I recall correctly. A big, strong man, made him very strong. So we started a fight. And it lasted for the entire luncheon hour. And nobody won the fight. He had a bloody nose, I had a black eye. And we went back and had and then I don't think he wanted to fight me anymore, or I wanted to fight him. We had figured out that this was self-defeating. We were just going to hurt each other, and maybe in the long run somebody would win, but it wouldn't be much of a win. We were both used to winning like real fast, but we were egged on to fight again. And at some point we had each other on the ground, and I don't know who went first, but we both said, "This is ridiculous." And I think he said, "We're doing it for them." I said, "You are." We got up, we shook hands, and we said, there were about 7 or 8 kids egging us on, boys. And we said, the 2 of us will take all 5 of you on, and they ran away. And then we became friends for the rest of grammar school. I spent most of my time at his house. He spent most of my time at other house. And our third friend was a Jewish friend who was the son of a dentist who used to take care of our teeth. And he had the nicest house, but we didn't like to play at his house because we could hear the drill. So I am a third Italian, a third Jewish, and a third Irish. And it depends on the day. So today I'm all Irish. Notice the green tie. For my next show, I'm going to wear a slightly different outfit, also green, of course. As you know, on Jewish holidays, I light menorahs, and on Christian ones, I put out baby Jesus. And this is the America I was brought up in. We were all brought up in different kinds of America, but all of which had similar end results. Very different combinations of people. Maybe it was Polish and Jewish, or Polish and Irish, or Italian and Polish, or just a bunch of farmers of 5 or 6 different groups, not even knowing maybe their background. It went so far back. But the thing that brought us together for sure was, oh gosh, we might disagree on everything. We all loved America. I mean, you wouldn't even, the idea of not standing for the national anthem, the idea of not having your hand on your heart for the Pledge of Allegiance. I mean, for Catholics, it was a sin, and for Christians, it was a sin. For Jewish people, it was disregarding the country they believed did the most to save them, and the country that many of them had come to long before the Holocaust. I mean, if you think about it, the earliest of that group were probably the Jewish. We had Jewish citizens during the Revolution, including people who participated in the Constitution, and the Italians were probably the latest. But sometimes when you say that, it confuses people, and it's hard to explain this today, but it's very important to explain it. It sounds like that Italian, Jewish, Irish thing meant a lot. It did, sentimentally. But it meant nothing when it came down to loyalty. Zero. When Italy made war against the United States, my grandfather, who was born in Italy, my uncles and father were all born here, sent them all off to do anything they could to help America. And his paisans, the people who used to, were a little more, some of them, not all, but some of them were more, how can we fight against Italy? And he had no patience or tolerance for it. He said, oh, you having trouble with that? Or he would say in his Italian accent, you having trouble with that? And they would say, yeah. He'd say, okay, I'm making a nice money now. Tickets are not so cheap. But I bet I get you nice cheap. You want to go back to Italy? You go back anytime. Want to fight for that fat Mussolini? Yeah, you like Mussolini? No, we hate Mussolini. What? You like America? Of course I like America. Are you better here in America than Italy? Are you kidding? So cut the shit. A cousin lost his leg in Italy. One uncle was missing in the Pacific, and the third one was isolated on an island, all fighting for the country they were born in, but in part against the country their father came from, with their father their biggest supporter. My grandfather wasn't unusual. He was no big hero. I mean, he was really, to me. We're going to find his watch later, and I'm going to show it to you because it's my prized possession. But he was the rule. That's the way Italians were. That's the way Greeks were. Excuse me. That's the way Jewish people were. That's the way Irish people were. That's the way Czech people were. That's the way, I don't know, we can go on. Hispanic people were. And I always thought we made one big mistake. Should have been American Irish, American Italian, American German, American Puerto Rican, American Dominican, American. Because that really is the background. This is the main event. The America. And they're like that now. St. Patrick's Day represents that. St. Patrick's Day is one of the most patriotic days for America, yet it is celebrating celebrating the heritage of a people that had more than most, with no one really contributing more to forming the core, the fiber of America. Gosh, if you didn't know it, you knew it on 9/11 when you looked at the names of the people who died. And I knew it when I went to the places where the funerals were held. I had, of course, grown up in the Catholic Church. I had wanted to be a priest. I studied for a while to do it. I was an altar boy. I was in church almost all of my childhood. And I never spent more time in church than after September 11. And never was my religion so strong, or did it ever become so strong. And my absolutely unwavering belief in our Lord Jesus Christ. And I attribute that to the Irish part of my heritage, for which I am eternally thankful. And then I attribute to the Irish part of my heritage the extraordinary, breathtaking bravery of the New York Police Department and Fire Department, which us Italians and Poles and Jews and blacks and Hispanics have matched, but you were the standard. So we'll be back in a moment, and God bless the Irish, and God bless, in particular, the Irish Americans.
I hear every day about the products you all wish MyPillow carried. Well, guess what? We probably do. Slippers, bathrobes, pet beds, blankets, mattresses, sleepwear, loungewear, duvets, comforters, pot holders, aprons, oven mitts, and so much more. And they're all on sale. For example, get our best-selling standard MyPillows for only $14.98. Body pillows, $29.98. 6-piece bath towels or kitchen towel sets, just $29.98. Multi-use MyPillow 2.0s with pillowcase, $9.98. Save $40 on our Spring Percale and Giza Dream bedsheet sets. Any size, any color, and so much more. So go to MyPillow.com or call the number on your screen. Use your promo code to save up to 80% on all MyPillow products. And I've never done this before. When you spend $100 or more, you're going to get 2 standard My Pillows absolutely free.
Tired of volatile stocks and tiny dividend yields? Here's something different. Imagine collecting steady monthly income from America's richest oil fields without owning a single oil stock. While everyone else stresses about the market, you could be earning passive royalty income month after month. This unique investment has nothing to do with drilling, exploration, or operations. You simply collect your share of the profits when oil companies pump oil. The Oxford Club's Mark Lichtenfeld has found what he calls the perfect income investment, a unique oil royalty opportunity that's still flying under Wall Street's radar. And you can get started with just $25. Head to rudyoilboom.com now to discover more. That's rudyoilboom.com. Stop worrying about the market and start collecting oil royalty checks instead. Well, welcome back to the Rudy Giuliani Show. And on this wonderful St. Patrick's Day, Lindell TV, St. Patrick was a warrior, a true warrior for God and for Christianity. So I think he would be very comfortable in this era in which we're fighting the snakes of China and the communist world. Of course, he would be very much motivated by the Blessed Mother who came to Fatima to tell us about the dangers of communism that some of us seem to have forgotten, even in some of the very high places in the Catholic Church. I won't mention how high. So let's go to our wonderful Cara Castronova, who was at the White House today, and the president was on the move again today, Cara.
He was, and there was also a briefing here at Caroline Leavitt, which was very interesting, but the president was at the Kennedy Center. As you know, he's taken that over because he doesn't agree with the woke agenda and what they're doing with the arts. So he's put a new board there, and he made a speech, and he's promised to really fix it up and,
You should put me in charge of opera.
That would be great. I didn't know you sang opera.
I would be willing to take a competitive exam against anybody he has in mind and win.
I would love to hear you sing one day, Mr. Mayor.
I got my way through law school, winning opera contests with a wise guy Italian who had a jukebox of operas. And he'd put them on, and he'd say, "What aria is that?" I said, "Are you kidding me?" He said, "You can't get to that." I said, "Okay, I'll bet you the dinner." He said, "Okay, I'll play twice for the dinner." And I said,
Wow.
"That's Cagelina Manina from La Boheme. Put on something hard."
I had no idea.
We finally got to. I had to get the opera and the singer and the conductor. What he didn't realize is he only had 48 opera songs there. I could memorize them all. So
yeah, maybe there is a place. You should come to D.C. and check out the Kennedy Center now that Trump has decided to take interest in it.
I saw a good Otello there, but it usually is second to it's second level to the Met. No reason it should be. There are ways you could do smaller operas there, and they would actually play better there than in the big Met. But okay, tell me what happened today.
Well, there was a really great briefing with Caroline Leavitt again, talking about the auto pen. It's something that's really taking, Trump is talking a lot about it.
You started this. You started a good one here, Cara.
I know. I mean, I do think that I had some effect because I did ask that question last week. And ever since then, Trump has really been outspoken about it. It went so far last night as to say, and he put an X post up over the weekend and on Truth Social that the J6, pardons are null and void and that they're not legal and that Biden had no idea what he was doing when he was signing them and that these people committed crimes, basically insinuating they could be prosecuted. So I think this is something that we really all wanted to hear. There was a reporter in here today from CNN who questioned the press secretary before I got a chance to about these pardons, but obviously in a negative way, saying, does Trump have any proof of what he's saying on Truth Social? And Caroline Leavitt had a great answer, which was, you're a journalist. Why don't you find out? which is the truth. It's our job as journalists, obviously, to question the government and the Biden administration. Certainly, I think that a lot of the journalists in the room really realize, and now it's undisputed, that he was not in a good mental state, and his mind was declining rapidly, especially in the end. And they all know he didn't sign those pardons. And I think it's our job as journalists, obviously, to look into that. So I plan on filing some Freedom of Information Acts.
You and I should just sit down for about an hour, and there's plenty of proof. You ever think?
Okay,
of it, right?
I would love to.
So how about his not knowing about the dead congresswoman, that she was dead, and thinking she was in the audience 3 weeks after he wrote a condolence notice? I mean, he's looking for her in the audience. How about thinking he talked to his father and his brother 5 years after they were dead, announcing it 3 times after he was told that wasn't true? How about his walking in the wrong direction 3 times? And the time that Georgia Maloney had to bring him back, that wasn't in it. That guy was going to go off. Probably they're going to put him on a parachute or something. How about falling down? How about having to have baby steps to come off the? So why was your thing was so important? Because if I tell someone to sign my signature and I give them authority to do it, and I am of sound mind, that's probably all right. That's a questionable one. You probably get past that. But suppose I don't know who the hell I am and I tell you to do it, and at any given moment, I may not know who I am. Then the fact that it isn't my physical signature becomes dramatic. And, and the appointment becomes null and void. So if at the same time he doesn't know somebody's dead, he's using a machine, can't even sign his name, that's pretty good proof that he doesn't know what the hell he's doing.
Right. And I think this has such a legal effect on so many people. Obviously, he pardoned his family, and we all know, they more than likely committed crimes. The January 6th Select Committee, Dr. Fauci. So are all these pardons now non-existent is the question. And I think a really even bigger question, and the New York Post put out an article, which is a big blockbuster article, in my opinion. They did some really good research, and they spoke to some sources. They were actual staffers that were working here at Biden's White House, 2 of them, who are now coming out and saying that actually it was an individual that was not Biden that was signing these auto signatures, and that everybody knew not to ask any questions, and that they were terrified of this individual, this staffer. Everybody knew this person was the one in charge, and that nobody said anything about it. So my question is, who was that staffer? And we want to find that out.
Well, I know when I have to do like a wire transfer, I have to twice validate my signature. I mean, I first authorized a wire transfer, and I'll scan a signature. And then I have to authorize it again to make sure it's mine. Now, I wonder how many times he never authorized it. It just went on, just went on there. But the main thing is, the real question is, did he have the mental capacity to authorize? Did he know what he was authorizing? And everything would indicate, when you see his behavior surrounding it, that he didn't.
Right.
So the use of the pen becomes different than if the use of the pen were done by a mentally competent president. If it were done by a Bush or a Clinton or even an Obama or a Trump, who are mentally competent. But by a guy who can't remember that his old man is dead by 5 years, or can't remember that a congressman just died, and he wrote her a letter of condolences, and he's looking for their congressman. Oh, she's dead. I mean, we have so many of those. It's ridiculous. Can't go in the right direction. Gets knocked out of the presidency because he's not capable of assisting in his own defense, which means he can't remember things. So does he even remember he signed them?
I very much doubt it.
Give you one final legal point that I spent time on. I told you I'd research it. I went back to the history of the pardon power. It comes from the pardon of the King of England. And in fact, they're quite specific. They're basing it on the pardon power of the King of England. In order to pardon you, the king had to know the crimes you committed. The king could not pardon you preemptorily. Now, we're not only pardoning preemptorily, we're pardoning when he didn't even know he was pardoning preemptorily.
Right.
So I think these pardons are useless.
Right. And
And
I
I
think
think
it's really
there's English
important that they depose
constitutional.
him.
I think there's English constitutional history that will knock this right out.
Right.
And the Harvard make-believe professors are all ignoring it. God forbid they should read English constitutional history, even when the framers say that's what they're borrowing to put in the Constitution. You know, they've become such liars. They've become bad law professors.
Right. No, it's
You got
very
a great one
interesting.
there,
I think
babes. You got a really great
I
one.
know.
The other one, of course, I love is bringing them up to the Bronx. But
Excuse me. I have a cough too, Mr. Mayor. Yes, of course.
I loved
So
it when you
yeah.
brought them up to the Bronx.
Yeah, I was thinking of maybe hitting the streets here in DC and talking to some of the people. Hold on. I have the cough. I'm sorry, Mr. Mayor. I heard you
Yeah, me
sneezing
too.
earlier. I
Me
think
too.
it's
We
going
haven't even
around
seen
here.
each other when I have a cough.
It's going around DC.
Transmitting through Lindell TV. I don't think it happens
Possibly.
on America's Mayor Live. We'll have to do it on there.
So
So how are
other
you
interesting
enjoying it?
things. I'm loving it. It's a lot of fun. I mean, this White House has been really receptive to new media. And I think that's really, it's really great. Today there was a new media seat. They had, we hope to be in that new media seat soon, where they just basically highlight different organizations that aren't mainstream media, because this is the wave of the future. People don't trust the legacy media anymore. They consume news elsewhere, like on X and alternate media sites like Lindell TV. They watch you. They're not watching, honestly, CNN or MSNBC anymore. The trust isn't there.
I was at an event in Naples, Florida this weekend for Republicans. They all watch us. They know who you are. They know who Mike is. They know some of the other people on the station, not just us, the ones like us.
Right.
And they say, "Oh no, we don't trust it." I mean, people just tell you, we never watch that anymore. Not even Fox.
No, it's true.
They say Fox went a little too far to the other side. So I know they're coming back now because they're sucking up, but we trust you guys better. And then the independent ones like Steve Bannon and Bongino before he left to go help us put the criminals in jail.
Yeah.
Well, this is terrific. I'm glad.
That's something else they spoke about today was the Venezuelan gang members, and a lot of the leftist journalists had questions about the due process rights, which is another question with your legal mind I was hoping to ask you. Do people with visas or people that are not citizens have constitutional rights? Because that's something that's sort of trending right now.
It's a fascinating thing, right? If they are here legally but not citizens, they have what are called basic due process, but not the full due process rights you have.
Right.
So we have more leeway to make if they make serious mistakes or endanger us. We have considerably more leeway to exercise discretion to protect ourselves. And doesn't that make sense, right? If you're a citizen and you do something that's ambiguous, you're sort of going to get the benefit of the doubt. But if you're here under privilege, it's a privilege for you to be here, and you do something wrong, we should have more of a discretion to throw you out. Now, these trans-Dragua guys at MS, this is a joke. I mean, they're throwing out innocent people. Give me a break. First of all, in this particular invasion from Venezuela, there wasn't enough room for innocent people. Maduro was getting rid of every street criminal, every guy in a penitentiary, every guy in an institution. And I got really offended today. Lucky it was St. Patrick's Day, so I feel happy. But I got really, really offended today. There was more attention for this than the killing of Lake and Riley.
Right. People were more concerned. Yes.
Yeah, they're more concerned about these animals. Oh, they didn't have clothes on. Hey, it's 98 degrees in El Salvador. Have you ever been in El Salvador? They didn't.
But I'm imagining you're right.
They were just being organized. They do more damage to themselves than any. I used to take care of the Mariolitos years ago. You didn't have to brutalize them. They brutalized themselves. They would kill each other. If an aggressive homosexual met a submissive homosexual, it was death within 3 minutes, and we had to keep them in separate places because that's what happened in Cuban prisons. Castro used to kill homosexuals. That's who Hollywood supported. So these are really bad people. God forbid, should there be a mistake? I guess. But you got to think about the rights of the majority. We can't keep these people here because there might be 1 out of 1,000 mistakes and there are 50 rapes.
Right.
Thank God that we have common sense applied to this. And the judges who are
100%.
getting in the way have no right to get in the way. No right.
Well, I really wanted to go there. I don't know, Mr. Mayor, if, one of the things I really hope that President Trump and Elon Musk are aware of, because I know they're aware of these judges that are really trying to block a lot of the executive orders and the things that Doge are doing. But these are obviously the very same judges like Beryl Howell, like Boasberg, and all of these others that really weaponized the government for the past 4 years. They're the same judges. They're just now basically politically persecuting in a different way by blocking orders. So I hope that they're aware of that, and that these judges are really rogue characters and that they do impeach them. Somebody actually asked the press secretary today about impeaching judges, or alluded to it, but in a negative way, saying, why is Elon Musk going out there saying impeach judges, which he has been. And I agree 100% they should be impeached because they're the most unchecked branch of the government. And she said she didn't really hear anything about that. So this is something that I really want to bring to the forefront, really start reporting more on it, because these judges are just laying in waiting, for the next, obviously bad president to come, and, really just continue to destroy democracy. So some of these judges, I do believe it's high time that there's a check and a balance. And Elon Musk has been calling for that. So I think it's something that we should be pushing as journalists, because we believe in checking, balancing the government. It's our job to question. And that includes the judiciary branch, which is literally the most unchecked branch, as you know.
Yeah, I believe, without drawing a line right now, and I have to study to draw the line, that there are judges that should be impeached, judges that should be admonished, and judges where we should just write it off to a difference of opinion. You got 3 different levels of wrongdoing. Right. And I think, in a way, you and I have talked about this a lot, and you've expressed that there were judges that were horrendous. And then there were judges that were bad, and there were judges that were not so good, but they weren't awful. And I don't want you to mention, you even mentioned to me a Republican judge who went easy at first, and then they frightened him. I'd like to find out who that was, because I think that's one you'd love to talk to and find out, how did that happen to you? How did that happen to you? That would be very worth both a congressional investigation. What do they accomplish? Do you think congressional investigations accomplish much, Kara?
I think this time around it would. I think we have such a stronghold right now. We shouldn't let it go. I think in 2 years, who knows what's going to happen? It could change. We don't know. And I really think that right now is the time to just set an example. Like, I'm not saying you have to necessarily impeach the judge, but even just open an investigative committee, a bipartisan one, and just ask some simple questions, like, about what happened over the past 4 years.
Right.
And even the left now is admitting that they were really, quote unquote, a little hard. I heard the expression, they were a little hard on Trump, so this stuff needs to be investigated. I think we have a 2-year window. I think after this 2 years passes, it's never going to happen again. We're never going to have that window. And I'm really, I'm sort of afraid that we're never going to get to the bottom of it, because
I could in 4 to 6 months do with a grand jury what it takes them 4 years to do, and they never really do. And then they're really always, I find that they're always afraid of the hard subjects. For example, the Comer Committee never touched the devastating email that Hunter Biden clearly states in writing, ultimately, that for 30 years he gave half of his income to his father. That's a killer. That's a piece of evidence you normally don't get. If you understand the RICO statute and the enterprise, you rarely get a definition of the enterprise. We just got one. Robert Blakey had to be turning over in his grave when Coomer missed it. Right. He wrote RICO. Then they don't tell you anything about the perversion that they have. American people, I don't want to get into dirty stuff or crappy stuff. American people are entitled to know that they had a man and a father who had pretty clear evidence of sexual perversion. In other words, young girls in the White House.
Right.
I don't know what that's hidden for, to protect all politicians. Why the hell would a Republican hide that? There are several pictures of child pornography. Now, you don't have to show the pictures. You don't have to identify the girl. But you got to get them up there to explain, this was a mistake. Or That's what would happen to me or you if we were
Right.
found with child pornography. At a minimum, we would be arrested and we'd have to talk our way out of it. We'd have to explain it was a mistake. It was a one-time incident. Well, they weren't a one-time incident. It also connects to Joe's liking young girls to touch his hair. Also connects to another statement they never talk about, which is it runs in our family. Now, I just think they protect each other against the worst, even our people.
Right.
So I'm a Republican, but I'm an American first.
Right.
And I just don't trust congressional committees. I trust.
Yeah, they
prosecutors.
haven't been the most. That's why I think that the best bet for me would be the DOJ doing an investigation, singling out a judge, the one that was the most egregious, and deposing that judge or their law clerks or whoever they need to, whatever staffers at the in the judiciary. I think you'll find answers pretty quickly.
Coleman never did anything to try to reach into Ukraine, too. Ukraine has witnesses ready to bury Biden. They've got the woman who claims she knows where all the offshore bank accounts are. The FBI wouldn't go see her. The House committee ignored her. And, she's a freebie witness. She says that she'll give you the accounts, and then she wants witness protection. So she doesn't get anything until she's right. But you see, they weren't prosecutors. They don't know. Number one, they're not tough enough. Number two, they're too damn political. And number three, they just don't have the skill.
Right.
That's an easy one. And the FBI passed that up because it's crooked. I've never heard of the FBI passing up, I'll give you 5 offshore bank accounts, and then I want witness protection. Because it's a no-brainer. You go get the 5 accounts, you check them out, and the person's lying to you. You give them back the 4, and you say, drop dead. It doesn't cost you anything. If the 5 are true, you just got the biggest case of your career.
Right.
It's a no-brainer. Only done if you're covering up a crime. I don't think Coomer and his people did it as a no-brainer. I just think they get scared when it gets too big.
Right.
It's a lack of... Well, that's why they're in politics, probably, and not prosecutors. But in any event, I would like to see this. If we're going to do this, I'd like to see the president appoint a special commission to do it.
Yes.
And
that would be ideal.
With people who don't give a damn but get the truth, and are not worried about, if somebody can raise money against them in the next election. Well, Kara, thank you. We always have great conversations. Happy St. Patrick's Day.
Happy St. Patrick's Day to you too. And I hope to see you soon and have a good night,
You
Mr.
will.
Mayor.
We want to get you down to Palm Beach to cover the what do you call it? The warm weather White House?
We're here whenever you want to invite us down. We're ready to come down to Florida and visit and do it live.
All right. Okay. All right. Take care.
All right. Bye, Mr. Mayor.
God bless. God bless. Isn't she great? Oh, yes. What an addition. What an addition. And she's on top of everything. On top of everything. Now they've taken the rest of my show away in excess of wanting space, and I don't even know what the time I don't want to say this because it will frighten a lot of people who are unnecessarily now hysterical about flying. But right now, a different kind of flying, I'm flying blind. But none of those planes going over there are flying blind. They better not be because they're too damn close to Mar-a-Lago. And I thought it was fabulous. If you watch our show, you know that for a long, long time, we, Ted and I, have been getting ready to go attack the Houthis ourselves. It was extremely embarrassing. Extremely embarrassing. And with the greatest appreciation I could possibly express to Bibi Netanyahu, that they went down there, a long trip from Israel. The Houthis, Syria's right on their border, Lebanon's on their border, Egypt back down there. Even Iraq is not all that far. Houthis are all the way down at the bottom of Saudi Arabia. They kind of baffle Saudi Arabia, which I don't understand. I mean, Saudi Arabia is worth about 1 million times more than they are. But in any event, the Houthis are good fighters, apparently. That's until they met up with the Israelis. I am told because we now have a president, we're now taking over our end of it. And I got to believe that President Trump said, thank you, thank you for doing our job for us. Because the Houthis were killing Americans and Joe Biden was letting them do it. I can't even say that without probably saying something that I'm not allowed to say. How can I say that a president of the United States let terrorists who preach to their kids that Americans are animals and should be killed, that this terrorist took away from a mother and father their 18, 19, 20-year-old son and daughter because he's an American, just wanting to protect shipping in the Red Sea. And the Houthis killed him. Houthis didn't kill him. Iran killed him. Iran ordered, the Houthis wouldn't even know who he was. Iran ordered them to hit the ship. American, English, French. Now, they were going to, the British, the French, some of the others who every time they say that, honestly, I believe they mean it. When the Prime Minister Sturmer of England said, we're going to send troops, and Macron said, I'm going to go get troops, and the silly man in Germany said, I'm going to go get troops, I bet they really believe they were. But you can't do it when you try to go to the troops and all the way over to the troops. It's extraordinarily embarrassing. You're peeing in your pants because you're so scared of something of what might happen. And then you realize when you get there, not only are you peeing in your pants, you have no cojones. None, not even little ones. Not even this big. So then in England, it was really funny. The English, who are all against us and all for them, but I guess they had just had it. Sturmer said, we're going to send British troops to help the Ukrainians. And the British press said, what British troops? We don't have any troops. We don't have any troops. The last troop we had got killed in the Second World War. The French were going to send troops, but the French general who was going to lead it surrendered. He surrendered. He just doesn't know where to send the surrender papers. So Macron had to give that one up. This is pathetic. It's pathetic what's going on in Western Europe. There's only one great thing about it. We're going to roll right past them. You watch Vance with that speech in Munich, still the best speech I can remember given by an American vice president since Richard Nixon told Khrushchev off. And you probably weren't even born when that happened. I hardly was born. But I have one of these unreal memories. Not only that, I can tell you where it happened. It happened in the New York Coliseum, which I eventually sold for $475 million and gave the project to someone other than Donald Trump. He bid for it and lost. Has never talked to me about it, even though I prod him. Never talked. I know he's angry, but he never prodded me. He never talked about it because he was actually a very honest guy who played by the rules. He won a lot of bids, plenty of bids, great bids. So we're hitting Houthis now. And I couldn't get a real good fix on just how hard, except the statement that I got was, you can be very happy. Which means we probably came pretty close. You could, well, I mean, of course I'm happy. Look at that. I mean, Yemen is not all that big. That looks like all of Yemen that just went. There goes Yemen. No more Yemen. And I feel sorry for well, I don't know. I shouldn't say that because they like to kill Christians too, come to think of it. No, I don't feel sorry for them. But in any event, they were doing that for Iran. Now, here's the best part of it. Please note the little things, which is why our country is back big time. And we're not hanging back very much. Trump made it very clear, something Biden never said, and something Ted and I said every time the Houthis did an attack. It's not the Houthis, it's Iran. Don't hit the middleman. hit the guy. I used to play my scene from The Godfather, right?
Right.
About who was it really? And The Godfather finally tells his, appropriately on St. Patrick's Day, his Irish counsel, he says to him, Tom, it was always Barzini. It was always Barzini. The Tartaglias were too dumb. The Tartaglias are a bunch of pimps. They were too tough to outfight Santino. It was always Barzini. It's been always Iran. And Trump today twice said, in language Iran, you better pay attention to, because this guy is not a Biden. He is not an Obama. And I happen to know he doesn't like you. He doesn't like you. Not personal. You just kill too many Americans. And those of us who love America don't like you when you kill Americans. We don't do what Biden does or Obama. When you kill Americans, we don't give you, $100 billion in cash like Obama did. Or when you kill Americans, we don't give you 300 billion in money like Biden did. No, we don't send you money. And then if you give us a proper justification where we can't avoid it, we try to kill you, destroy you. And you're pushing him. He gave you 2 weeks of opportunity to enter some kind of a peace treaty. And what are you doing? You're sending out bombs from Houthi. You think Trump doesn't know they're coming directly from the Reign of Terror, from the Ayatollah? You think he's going to go hit back much more on the little stupid Yemen? By the way, as far as I can tell, you don't have any air defenses left. Netanyahu took them all out, didn't he? It seemed to me he did that pretty easy. Well, what would you think would happen if America and Israel decided, let's see how good we are with Iran? You think you can match it? Of course you can't. China's abandoned you already. Russia's abandoned you already. They're not going to back losers. You've lost everything. You've lost Saudi Arabia. You were trying to make up with Saudi Arabia, but they're never going to work. They've hated you for 2,500 years. You think they're going to start loving you now that you want an atomic bomb? So there actually isn't even another course with Iran. There's no use negotiating with it because you lie. So it's just a matter of time, Ted, when those nuclear facilities get taken out. And I think they're looking for a best way to position it. So when we come back, we're gonna take a look at the deportations that are going on, which are really extremely way ahead of schedule, or ahead of anything I believed. And I believed they're going to close the border right away, but I didn't think they do this many deportations as quickly. Secondly, I did think the courts would interfere as much as they do. I thought even more. I'll tell you why in a little while. And then just one for my psychological well-being. Schumer is finally being protested against by a Jewish group as a traitor to his own people. What a piece of garbage. We'll be back.
We're going to stay on for 2 more minutes, Mayor.
We're going to be here for 2 minutes. What would you like me to talk about for 2 more minutes? Tell me. Just pick a subject. No, let's have some fun. Pick a subject and see if I can. What?
The American League East with reporters and.
I'm unhappy about losing Cole. I think that there are two people you can't lose. You can't lose him. You can't lose Judge. So they lost a pitcher who anchors the team. They have a lot of really good pitchers. It is possible one of them could become an ace, but it would have been so much easier if there was a pitcher they could emulate. And losing him for the whole season is really wicked. It may be like the Dodgers losing Sandy Koufax in the great years. Can they make it up because they have so much talent? Yes, but they play in the best division in baseball with, with Baltimore, and Boston's constantly improving, and it's going to be tougher than it would be. But somehow, I still think they'll pull it out. So we're going to be on very shortly on X. You just stay on. If you're on X, move over to X. We're going to have a few more St. Patrick celebrations, and we're going to take a look at Biden auto penning. Oh boy. The changes Trump has already brought about in Europe that you don't even know about. All this tariff stuff, he's won about 2/3. No, he's won about 1/3 of them already. He's got 1/3 of them in perfect position, and 1/3 we probably don't win. So we have to take a little beating on that. But the overall thing is we win. If we straighten this out to free trade, I'll explain that to you, because it's the only weak point that they have, and it isn't a weak point, it's a strong point. It was last time too, and it was for Reagan. And you won't believe this, but they did the same thing to Reagan. They're doing to him because they're too stupid to do something new. So we'll be back very shortly. God bless Israel. God bless Ukraine. God bless the people of Iran. God bless the Irish people all over the world. And God bless the United States of America.
Yeah.